I'm Scott Fishman.
I'm John Dwoskin.
And this is the 7-Minute Salesman.
Welcome, everybody.
Hey, John, how you doing today?
Fish, good. How you doing?
Doing amazing. Ready for drop some goodness on these folks today.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's always a good goal. Let's. What are we going to drop on them today?
Well, first and foremost, I want to say welcome to Season 8 of the 7-Minute Salesman.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Season 8.
Yeah.
It's thanks to everybody who's tuning in. Appreciate everybody's feedback and loyalty to the listeners. And Fish, thanks to you, man. This is it's a blast doing this with you. And
John, thanks to you.
Thanks to us.
Without you, there's no us.
All right, enough about us. Let's talk about what we can give the 7-minute community today to up their game tomorrow. Yeah.
The biggest thing I want to talk about today is creativity. You know, there's so many times that we just fall into a rut and we just do what we did yesterday and what we did the day before, and we do what the guy next to us is doing, or the exact same way we were taught, or the way someone did it 25 years ago. We just fall into that, just do the same thing over and over, whether it's in prospecting, whether it's in, our presentations, whether it's in just how we go about our day, and we don't actually get creative.
Yeah.
And
so important
to do that.
Yeah, I'm going to throw out a kind of a something that people can do to help them right away. And that is just pay attention. I agree with everything that you just said. Pay attention to what your current rhythm and pace is, and change one thing tomorrow about your pace or your rhythm. It is because a lot of times that's all you got to do. The level of awareness is huge when you do things and how you do things. I was talking to a doctor recently, and they were telling me that they did a study with, I think it was 100 people, give or take. This is the gist of it. But give or take, they took 100 people that needed to lose weight, and they gave them the same food and the same calorie count. So they gave 50 people it one way and 50 people the other way. They gave half the group 700 calories in the morning, and then distributed in the afternoon, and then at night the least amount of calories. And in one group, they gave the least amount for breakfast and the most at night. But I think it was 1,500 calories. Maybe it was more, but let's just use it for that number. And at the end of I think it was the 3-month study, I could be wrong, but whatever the time frame was, one group lost 7 pounds, one group lost 17 pounds. And it was the group that ate the 700 calories for breakfast because of the timing of when they ate the food versus at night. And everything was pretty much the same. And so I think that goes with what you're talking about, which is just the rhythm of things, the pace of things, the timing of things. You may be doing all the right things, but maybe at the wrong time.
That's great. I love that. 7 versus 17. That's such
7 versus 17. Yeah. I mean, she gave me it was the GIST study. She actually, this is Dr. Robin Miller, and she wrote a book. And this is one of the examples that she gives in the book. But it's, I'll get the name of the book as we're talking. But it was just like a fascinating thing about, being creative and looking at what you do differently. And I mean, any additional thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think you're hitting the nail on the head. Don't just do what someone else does.
Right. Even
like you said, even they're getting the exact same amount of calories. There's the same amount of hours in the day. They might be getting the exact same amount of exercise, but it's how you distribute that. So it's the same thing. If you have a script on your desk that's the same as a script that someone else is using, burn it. Get rid of it. Maybe take bullet points off of it and make it your own, but you have to be creative in this. You can't just be a robot no matter what you're selling. It doesn't work. You have to actually put yourself into it, and you have to listen to your clients and figure out what's going to make them work. And that's where you get creative as well, is if I'm offering the same product to every single person, and then I hear them take a left turn in the phone call or in the meeting, I have to be willing to take that left turn with them, and I have to figure out what I can do once we make that turn to make it go back to where we're going to be able to have a closable sale.
Absolutely. I mean, being nimble and being able to pivot is, in my opinion, the key to sales. I love what you said about making it your own. So many times I see salespeople, they'll say to me, "Hey, can you give me a script? Can you give me some talking points?" Absolutely, I can. But then you, Mr. or Mrs. Salesperson, have to take that and make it your own. You got to put in your own words. You got to put in words that your clients can resonate with. And then you got to listen to see and tune in to the clients and understand what their pain, what their drivers are, and then kind of connect the dots. But all along the way, I find the most successful salespeople are the ones that listen the most, can pivot the quickest, and can talk in the client's language, not theirs.
Right. You have to make it your own. You have to go ahead and work when, like I said, when something takes a left turn, you have to be able to do that. I think we just hammered that nail, deep, deep, deep. I don't know if we have to take that too much further, but let's talk about being creative in your day and how you structure your day, John.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So we all, when we start off, we go through training, or we have, a mentor, someone that goes through and says, here's how you should structure your day. At 8 a.m., you should be doing this. At 9 a.m., you should be doing this. At 10 a.m., 11 a.m., and so forth. But that might not work for you. You might not be a morning person, or your territory might be on the West Coast and you're on the East Coast. Are you going to be calling people at 5 a.m? That doesn't make a lot of sense. So you have to structure your day in a way that works for you, and you find the most success. So if you find yourself in a rut and you find yourself not having success because you're calling people at the same time every single day, change it up. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I want to comment on that, because I think one of the things that holds salespeople back is actually picking up the phone, whether you are doing your business over the phone around the country, or whether you're just picking up the phone to get meetings. It doesn't matter, proposals, whatever. Is they mentally think, I got to make X amount of calls, so I'm going to sit down and I'm going to make 25, 50 calls. And that's very difficult to do. So one of the things that I find works for salespeople is, if you want to make, I'm just throwing out a number, 50 calls a day, then, and you're the type of person that has a small attention span, which is fine. Make different calendar entries for yourself where you're making 10 calls 5 times a day. And that may take 20 minutes, that may take 15 minutes, but make an appointment with yourself and divide it up so it fits with the DNA of who you are and makes it easy, not so impossible.
I love that, John, because if you have to make those 50 dials and you don't start early, and it becomes 2:00 and you don't have any dials, then it's like an insurmountable task for you, because you're looking at it, you're like, how am I ever going to do that? And you don't even take the first step.
Right. Small things. I remember I ran a marathon when I was 25, and I didn't train this way, but when I started running, there was a gentleman next to me who was 59 years old and I was 25. And he said to me, the way he trained and the advice he gave me right before I started at the starting line was, hey, run a mile, walk a minute. And that way you're mentally running a mile 26 times. You're not running a marathon. And it just clicked. That philosophy helped me finish my marathon.
Yeah.
In 4 hours and 54 minutes, and a guy dribbling 3 basketballs finished before me. But the point is, I finished.
And I think we've talked about that on this show before, but I actually was at the finish line. And when I tell you that John crossed the finish line and was not out of breath, and he was like, hey, what's up?
I was like, what's up?
It was wild.
Yeah. I mean, I was 25. So that was 21 years ago, Fish.
I think I was more winded from walking where I was standing to the finish line to see you than you were crossing the finish line the other direction.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, it was all because I changed my mindset as I was literally taking off. And I ended up running the first 19 miles with this guy. And the philosophy is, it's a Galloway philosophy, is if you run a mile, walk a minute, then you give your legs the oxygen it needs to keep going. Because they say that a human being is not really meant to run a marathon. They're more for horses. So you got to give your legs the oxygen. It's the same thing in business. You got to give your oxygen to the other pieces of your body. You got to give yourself the energy. You can only do what you are capable of doing. And just because the guy next to you or the woman next to you is pounding out 50 calls doesn't mean, like you said earlier, you can.
Right. And John, I want to touch on something that I kind of mentioned briefly earlier. Is if you're using a script, get rid of it. And this is something that I've gone with trainers at the company I work for over and over again, because they talk about consistency. And I always preach that the Ralph Waldo Emerson, a foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds. What I mean by that is you don't need to be consistent. You need consistency in certain ways. Like if you have a sales script, it should follow a certain pattern. You know, you
Yeah.
get strong introduction, step 1, step 2, step 3, all the way through to your first close. And then how you handle the objection that goes with that, and then you close again.
Yeah.
So you should have a structure. So there should be consistency
Yeah.
in structure, but you shouldn't have the same words as the person next to you because you are a different person. Just like every prospect is a unique and individual snowflake, every salesperson is unique and individual in their own right. So we need to run our business that way.
That was poetic, Fish. That was poetic. I like that.
Well, thank you, John.
But you're right. Don't be so rigid, right? I mean, salespeople get so rigid, and just be yourself. Do your best to fall into being yourself. The sooner that happens, and you start talking intelligently as if you're talking to a friend or somebody that you're not trying to, convince that you're really, really smart, and just be yourself and fall into what you know. And I think, Fish, I just want to kind of talk about this for a quick second. You got to practice this. This doesn't happen overnight. You work with a company that does a ton of training. You do a ton of training, but it's you got to practice, and you got to prep, and you got to practice some more.
Yeah. And that's something that I do and I'm famous for doing this, is when I hear someone just, going through the script. So what can I do for you today? Why are you calling? When I hear someone doing that, I go up and I use the scissors and I show them, I'm like, let me see your script. We're going to rewrite it. Then what I do is I take the topics, I cut the topics off, and I lay them on their desk, and I just say, here's your new script.
Yeah.
And then they say, what do you mean? And they freak out because they've had that crutch there the whole time. They say, no, give me your introduction without reading it off anything. And they give me an introduction. It might be similar to what was on the script, but it's in their own words.
Yeah.
And I say, okay, let's do some information gathering. Ask me the questions. And it suddenly it becomes them.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, and just get rid of it and trust yourself.
Yeah.
Trust yourself. I think that's one of the things that salespeople don't do. They don't trust themselves. Once you trust yourself, just going back to what we initially talked about, being creative, once you trust yourself, the creativity just kind of starts to pour through.
Right.
Yeah.
And that comes with practice and mastery of your product. And it's not going to be there instantly on day one, but it does come. And it comes a lot faster than you think if you actually give yourself the opportunity to fail and actually work on it without having those crutches there. You'll grow, be creative. You'll get to the next level way faster if you actually stop being a robot and start being you.
This has happened to me a couple times, and I've had the same response the 2 or 3 times that this has happened. I was leaving a message, and something happened when I left the message where I could not stop laughing. I couldn't even get the message out. Maybe somebody in like the cube next to me did something. I don't even know. Maybe I tripped over some words, and I would start laughing. And it was just a debacle. I mean, it was just like a mess of like I almost had to like hang up, barely giving my phone number, laughing. And all those times, I always had the people call me back, and because they were like, "Oh my God, I got your message." It was hilarious, and I remember saying to them, "Yeah, you know what? I went to go say something. Somebody said something funny, or I couldn't think of this, or da 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 da." And they said, "Yeah." And then those were like very just real conversations. So just be yourself, and if you mess up, like you said, make mistakes, embrace the mistake, and grow from it.
Yes. Make mistakes, embrace, grow. I think that's a great way to wrap this up, John.
Yes.
An amazing episode. I'm super excited for what this season brings. And 8 seasons, John.
I know. 8 seasons of the 7-Minute Sales Minute. I knew once we got over 7 seasons and got past the 7 number, things were just going to get insane. So
for me, it was 6.
So, yeah, it was great. And I'm just going to throw this out there because, Fish and I, when did this start, Fish? Like 2.5 years ago-ish?
Yeah.
Yeah. In the beginning, Fish and I did one where it's I think our first episode that we didn't even air because it was so bad. Took, I think, 3 hours, 4 hours.
Yes.
We wrote it out. We sounded like robots, and then we threw it out because we were trying to write a script. I mean, I remember sitting at your kitchen table writing a script, and we would go back and forth. And then we were just like, fuck it. We threw it. Maybe we'll air it one day. I don't even. Do you still have it?
Yeah, we owe it to people to put that out. I'm going to have to pay someone to edit it so that way we're so hands off.
Right.
It's just going to be so bad.
It's so bad. And then we threw it away, and then we improvise. I mean, we kind of just improvise. We have a quick topic, and then we improvise. And I think the reason we're getting so much feedback is because we're just ourselves. So, and I echo that only because that was the theme here.
Yeah.
Just kind of, know what you want to do, go do it, have fun, be yourself, prep, and that's it.
Go forth and sell.
Amen.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Oh, real quickly. That book I was talking about earlier is called Healed, Health and Wellness for the 21st Century, Wisdom, Secrets, and Fun Straight from the Leading Edge by Dr. Robin Miller. She is a really cool person, and it can be found on Amazon. So all right. Thanks again.
And find booksellers everywhere. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. Now, no excuses. It's time to put everything you listen to into action. Stop bullshitting yourself. Stop lying to yourself. Stop listening and doing nothing with this information. Take this information, implement it into your day, kick some ass, grow your business, grow your sales, make more money, have more fun, have a better life, period, the end.
What he said.